Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to discuss about set. Set is also the collection of elements with the different data types. But unlike the tuple and the list that we have discussed previously, where we can have the multiple or repeated values in the tuple and list, whereas in set, it's not the case. Set is actually the collection of unique elements, and hence the indexing is not actually possible in the sets. Okay, so basically the sets is something like, if you remember the set theory, where you have union, intersection, not, and etc. So those kind of operations we can actually perform with the set. Let's say if at all you are having the two sets, we can use the A union B, A intersection B, and basically union is the joining of our combination of all the A and B, and intersection is the common elements between A and B and the difference of A and B, and so on. So that is what actually we can perform with the set operation. In order to define the set, we can actually use either set or curly braces. Okay, so let me define a set A, and that can be defined using the curly braces. So what I mean to say is that set is actually the collection of unique elements. So even though there are multiple elements that was there in the set, but when you execute all at once, let's say if you print set A, and what happens is that we get the collection of unique elements in the set. And here if you notice that there are 2 1s, 2 3s, 2 5s, and 2 7s. And at the end we have only unique set of elements. It's not only that, which doesn't follow any kind of order. Let's say if you define some set B, and this is some 9, and let's say 1 and 5 and 0, 7, 7, 8, 6, and so on. Something like this is my set B with a different order. But if you execute this, what happens is that it will bring the list of values either in an ascending order or descending order. Basically it will bring all the values in a specific order. Hence in this case it's not recommendable to use the indexing. But however, whenever you have a list and in that list you are looking only for the specific unique values in a list, and which is highly recommendable to use the sets. Okay, so that's sets, and directly jump to the methods in the sets. And if you quickly look into the methods in the sets, what we have is, if you type A and press dot and press tab, and here you can see there are the different set of modules or methods that was there in the sets. And first is add. Add means you can add the elements into the set. So what I mean is add will add the element in the set if the value does not exist. Okay, so what it means is that a dot add, and if you just give some value, something like data, and now if you print A, so what happens is that a new value data is actually adds into the set. Let's say if the value is already existing, and if you use the B dot, if the value that is existing, let's say 8 is already present in the B, and still I want to add it, it doesn't throw any error. It doesn't add it because the value is already there in the set. And that's the meaning of the add. Let's look into the one more case, which we have clear and copy. We already know the difference between the clear and copy. I'm not going to explain that. And let's go to the difference here. Difference is A minus B, or some operations like A minus B or B minus A. So which means if you go there, and here the A minus B is this. And what I mean is that A and not B, and B and not A. This is A minus B, and this is B minus A. Okay, that's the meaning of A minus B and B minus A. And if you want to perform such kind of operation, we can use this. For example, A dot difference of b, so which means it will perform the a minus b operation. So for that, let me print a equal to a, and print b equal to b, and now the difference between a minus b is what we can print here. Okay, let's do one thing. Okay, and here I go. And what you see is that a minus b, a is this and b is this, and difference between a minus b is that a not b. That's the meaning of this, a and not b. Okay, and here if you see that there are some basically some common elements between a and b is a and b which removed in the a. For example, 1 and 5 is there, 5 is common, 6 is common, 7 is common, and this is the value which is common between a and b, and we are removing these common elements in the a. That's what you're going to see here. Okay, right, now let's see one more, and difference update. The meaning of difference update is, and if you remember now, if let's say if you print the a again, and what happens, a minus b is the difference of a minus b is what this, right? But it's not actually updated. It means it's not actually saved. If we use the a minus b dot update, then what happens is that it will update the values in the list. So what I'll do, for the sake of simplicity, let me take the c and I'll copy from a, and now let me perform this operation. First let me print c, and this is my c, and if I perform some operation, c minus difference of b, and instead of difference let me use update, and now what happens to c is it's got updated. That's what the difference between difference update and difference. Now let's look into another case, which is discard. Okay, the meaning of discard, it itself says, like, to remove the value in the list or remove an element from the set if it is a member. Okay, so the meaning of this is, let me print a, let me comment this, and we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and I want to discard the data here. So the meaning of this is I want to discard the data. So now if you execute this, what happens is, okay, let me yes, now what happens is that it will discard this. So problem is that it will also update it. It will remove and update it. Okay, that's the discard. Let's look into another case, which is intersection and intersection update. Intersection is common elements between the sets. So a intersection b and b intersection a, both are same. Okay, in order to perform this, let's say a intersection b, and which will actually print the common elements between a intersection b, and intersection update will actually update it and put the values in the a. That's the meaning of intersection update. Let's look at another case, which is disjoint. Is disjoint. So what it means, disjoint. The meaning of disjoint is two sets are said to be disjoint if there is no common elements between sets. So if suppose there are some, this is my a and this is some my b is also there, and there is actually some common elements between a and b, hence a and b are not disjoint. So is disjoint is a function. Is disjoint is a function which will return either true or false. If there is a common elements between a and b, and then it will actually return false, otherwise it returns true. So that's what it says. It returns true if the two sets have the null intersection. In our case, it's not the null intersection, so that's the reason it returns false. So let's say if we take some set D, and in this case, let me give 11, 12, 13, and now if you see, look into the A and B, which is totally disjoint to each other. So hence it will return true. So this will be A is disjoint of B. It will return true. That's the meaning of this. Let's look into another case, which is a subset. So let's understand subset. Subset is something, a set A is called subset of B if all elements in A are also elements in B, which is called subset. But however, in our case, there are few elements in A which are actually not in B, so that's the reason A is not subset of B. But however, let's say A dot E subset, and what we can say is B, and that's totally false. So let me take one more case E, and first let me print A, and let me take E equal to, it's my 1, 2, 3, now which is actually a subset. Now we can say that, like, E is subset of A. You can test it out. E dot E subset of A, and that's totally true because all the elements in E which is present in A, and that's the reason E is subset of A. Let's look into another case. Superset. Superset is actually the opposite of it. So basically here A is superset of E. So if you see E superset of E, and that's true. What the meaning of superset, you can also find the definition here. Test whether every element in other is in the set. And the next is a symmetric difference. Symmetric difference is actually the opposite of intersection. It's a complete opposite of intersection. What it means is, let me go to the Venn diagram and show you what it means. This is the example of the symmetric difference. It's not A and B, which contains A, which contains B, but not A and B. That's a symmetric difference. So for example, let me print A and also print B, and now let's look into the symmetric difference of A and B. So the symmetric difference of A and B, so which is not actually basically it's not actually common, rest all will present. That's the symmetric difference between the A and B. Okay, now let's look into another case, a symmetric difference update. We already know the difference. And next is union. Union is it's complete. So which is this, A union B. Okay, now what we can do is you can print A and you can print B and print A union B equal to this. That's the A union B. Alright, this is what the basic introduction to the set, and what we have seen is some of the operations that we can actually perform in the Venn diagram in the sets like intersection, union, etc. In the next lesson, we're going to talk more on this. Until then, happy learning.